Hello, everyone. Charles and Martina here. Today, we want to talk about the practical side of being in tune with the cosmos and all life that calls us home. And we have two very special guests. We have Deborah Lee Flynn, a guardian teacher of the cosmic communication system of Earth, and her husband, Don Flynn, a biologist specializing in ecotones and the life forms in ecotones that wish to interact with us. Over to you, Charles, to do the honors.
Yes, welcome everyone. From me, I'm happy to introduce Deborah and Donald Flynn, co-teachers of the Namas University. Deborah and Donald specialize in different areas. They also work with various teachers from the Shambala Unity Council. Together, they form the core team teaching live classes at Quincy, Massachusetts Cosmic Communication Station. During live classes, they demonstrate how to use a nature station for communication with off-Earth allies and facilitate interactions with the transition zones or the ecotone of the marshland and the ocean. They are able to help the students communicate with the local nature spirits, the Mer People that call the ocean home, and divas. Deborah and Donald co-host the weekly NAMAS English student classes on Saturdays. Donald's interests include environment and conservation and ecosystem management. He works with the higher being, Misonas, and the great white eagle. Deborah is also part of the NAMAS artists group that paints portals that everyone can use to teleport or communicate telepathically. Deborah works with the Cosmic Mother, Mother Mary, and Mother Earth, Amaya. She receives galactic wisdom unfiltered and puts into action in the physical and the higher realms. Martina, you want a follow-up question?
Let's start. To someone who is just hearing that for the first time, Deborah, a guardian teacher of a nature station of the cosmic communication system. Were there any indications in your life, early life, that something like that might happen?
Well, it's interesting when I look back on when I was young, and I remember one of the happiest places that I could be in was in the woods, amongst the trees, the moss, and the streams. I felt very different there. There was definitely an energy of calmness. As I thought about this again as an adult, I realized I was connecting with something much more. I now know this was a connection with nature beings in the woods. The trees and the plants I could see, and others present that I was unseen. So, as a small child, I was drawn to explore and enter this realm of reality. A child wonders and sees through eyes that are not influenced. I was moving without purpose, following my instincts and allowing myself to feel where I was going. I was wandering through the woods. This instinct has never left me. I am drawn by the trees in the woods wherever I go. I can hear them now that I have opened myself up to them. All people can choose this when we have our bodies in tune with nature. When we are in harmony with them, they feel they can trust us.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting, Deborah. Donald, since you and Deborah match so well, I'm kind of wondering, is there any similar thing in your background that indicates what you're doing now for the nature stations also?
Thanks, Charles. It's fun to be here. um, yeah, actually, this strong strong parallels. I was frequently outdoors and was blessed to live in a neighborhood that had small woodlands, farms, fields, ponds within close walking distance. And being in a large family in a small house, we were frequently outside, uh, running around the neighborhood. I remember exploring all these areas and watching the smallest wildlife intently, just watching how things went on. I vividly recall instances where my ex-boy showed me some cruel behavior on the part of people towards wildlife, and my inner response was to be repulsed when I saw things like that. I also remember my enjoyment in rescuing wildlife and even catching and releasing insects and animals from harm's way, and how that brought me joy and satisfaction. One of my favorite things was to climb a tall tree and sway in the breeze.
And you are still doing that, Donald.
And
I see. I'm a witness.
I'm not as daring as I used to be. And I used to marvel at the perspective that, you can get from the tree. I just had the old Disney cartoon with Mowgli in the jungle kind of jump through my head. If I don't know if anybody can touch base with that reference. This skinny little kid that wants to climb trees and dance around. That was me. But eventually that led to studying natural sciences, both through education, self-education, and later on, more formally in college. And I also pursued hiking as a recreation. I was introduced to that as a young man. And scuba diving, both as an adventure, as a way of sharing the different aspect of the natural environment with people, and as a business endeavor. So I found great satisfaction in being able to participate in some aspects of endangered wildlife research. I had the opportunity to participate in that and help document some activities and use my skills as a scuba diver.
Wow. So you were in nature all the time.
A lot.
Martina, any question
A
for
lot.
Don?
Yes, Donald, I know you were a biologist specializing in ecotones. Now, when I heard that word the very first time, I had no clue whatsoever what an ecotone is, and I guess I'm not the only one. Could you please
Oh,
describe what an ecotone is?
no, it's an esoteric term, like a lot of technology today. Specialties have their own language. So an ecotone is, and Charles is nodding yes because he's a biologist too. But yeah, in ecotone is a term used in ecology. In in ecology. Interestingly, for us here, ecology quantifies energetic relationships and follows the energetic pathways as a means to understand the dynamics or relationships of an ecosystem. And that's kind of interesting for us here because it has crossovers that we'll probably get to later. So an ecotone is an area or zone of transition or change of habitat or the immediate surrounding environment that indicates high energy relationships.
Okay.
It's a dynamic, highly energetic place of transition of species and animals and plants. It can be gradual, where upland changes to wetland environment, or abrupt, like the bank of a river. So, as an example, if you can imagine, even the edge of an ocean current. So, out in the ocean, you have an ocean current. The waters are at different temperatures, so at different salinities. Right at that edge is an ecotone, and that's where you're going to find a lot of action, a lot of fish. That's where the fishermen go. High energy changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Thank you,
That's
Donald. Mhm. That
that I
explains
guess
a lot.
everyone can relate to. We all have seen those, yeah, really two sides of something coming together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can recall I've been standing at Cape Hope on the southern western tip of Africa, seeing the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic coming together.
Yeah. That would be an
So,
ecotone
yeah,
area.
I just learned
Ecotone zone.
something. Great. Charles, over to you.
Yeah, so Deborah, you've been kind of waiting to jump in here. I know today you're gonna publish your book, which details your journey to how you got here. And I'd like for you to really tell our audience about what the cosmic communication system is, and any more information that will be helpful to the audience.
Certainly, Charles, I'd be happy to. It's been such an incredible journey for me the last few years, and I'm just at a space where I'm just so grateful, much gratitude for the extraordinary information that I'm able to share. So, the cosmic communication system is the nervous system of the universe. Our Creator has connected each celestial body to it. It's used to execute the up-to-date divine plan, communicate, and teleport. So, how did this journey start? It started when I started trusting my intuition in 2022. In March of that year, I heard the first podcast on YouTube from the SANAT KUMARA. At that time, the podcast was biweekly, and I anticipated each podcast. As my husband and I continued to listen, we learned that the first of 5 main stations of the cosmic communication system on Earth had reopened, reconnecting Earth again with the Creator's whole cosmic communication system. This to me was incredible, and I needed to hear more about that. And this place was the Octagon at Aachen Cathedral in Aachen, Germany. As we have learned from the SANAT KUMARA, the cosmic communication system's stations had been shut down during the fall of Atlantis. Communication with our Creator and His plan had been cut off. So I followed my intuition, and my husband and I traveled to Aachen for our first ever trip to Europe.
Now, before we hear more about that, let me ask you, Donald. You work with Shambala Master Teachers, White Eagle, and you work with the plant kingdom and their leadership. How do you use these connections to learn and to teach?
Thanks, Martina. Well, first I asked for guidance from White Eagle and other guides, so I may effectively pace the dialogue slowly, because people need to be given time to understand. I look to adopt the patience of White Eagle. When I feel White Eagle, I sense, maybe thousands of years of patience. And this calms me. I then form some understanding of who I'm teaching by perhaps asking questions. So I try to get to know who my audience is. This allows me to tap into the library of mind. That is a term that we frequently refer to. particularly from you, Martina, the library of mind of the students, which gives them associations so we can build on it. And this indicates the respect for the intelligence of others. I then focus on the beauty of nature, white eagle, and the elementals that the elementals bring, asking the students to pause, look, listen, or feel deeply and find joy in the creation. I hope that was really clear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
thanks. And
want
let
to.
me maybe add what the library of mind is for those who just listen and hear this for the very first time. So it's our frame of reference, our knowledge that we have that lets us place information into what we understand. And we currently strive to expand our library of mind through increasing our knowledge of reality. Over to you again, Charles.
Yeah, so Donald, I want to follow up with you on what practical things that you do at the Merrymount training station to help students connect with plants and nature beings.
Well, you use the word practical while we teach lessons of and for the spirit. So you have to navigate that a little bit first. However, there are very real concrete actions that can be taken to awaken your soul, to help us remember the connection many had in their childhood, but which was overwritten, can we say, by culture and religion.
Yeah.
Gentle instruction and doing in an understanding, accepting, and joyous atmosphere allows for a reopening of connection or connections that can be internally seen, heard, and felt. So, so we sometimes refer to emerging between the 3D and the etheric, and your personal view of the universe expands with possibility if you open yourself up to that.
Yeah, definitely setting up an intention to actually come and connect with the nature beings is actually a very huge step, which shows them your willingness to collaborate and learn more about them. And we always see positive results. So I'll turn over to Martina to continue.
Deborah, let's go back to Aachen Cathedral. What was your first experience like when you came to Aachen Cathedral in the summer of 2022?
Well, thank you, Martina, for asking, because that was quite an incredible decision following my intuition to travel to Germany. Never thought I'd be traveling to Germany, the first country of Europe, but there I was going. And we connected with you, and you were delightful. Met us at the
Thank you.
train station, made sure we settled in, and showed us around the city. And then you took us into the cathedral, which we were very anxious to visit. And you guided us around there. But what was interesting was that when we first entered and we were right in the octagon, I felt such a high frequency of energies immediately, particularly there in the octagon. I felt a lightheadedness and dizziness. I felt the energies of all the divas and the stone people surrounding the octagon inside the cathedral. And of course, the vibrations of the station itself, and I know the master teachers. It was just a massive energy input, and I just took my time and allowed that to feel that. And you were very helpful with that. Thank you, Martina.
So,
Well,
Deborah,
yes,
I
dear.
was with you last year at the cathedral in Aachen, and I saw the energy, I saw the exuberance. I can testify to that. You were just flying all over the place.
I
walking on
was?
air. So, Donna, what was your own experience in visiting the Aachen station?
Thanks, Charles. My experience was one of kind of quiet excitement and introspection. In the cathedral, I could feel history and sense overly large events of hundreds of years ago. In the chapels during quiet meditation, I felt peaceful presence that whispered that this is the right place to be and that I was to continue to be, I don't know, kind of like a protector or a guardian of the activities that were going on there. It took me some time to settle down and feel the energies of the cathedral and some of the beings there get out of my head. But it was delightful.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. So, Deborah, you are the guardian of the nature station. So that means you stay there all day, all night watching the nature station?
Nearly, probably, nearly.
Well, if it was next door, maybe. It's not too far from our home, just over an hour. And I remember when, we first were appointed guardians there, we didn't know what that meant, but we knew we just needed to allow that to come, and we would understand. And so, being one of the 1,090 nature stations, the spirits of nature are there waiting for us to visit. And that's what we did. We visited many times that first year. It's important to understand that the dark energy has been cleared away from all nature stations. Contact with local spirits and former tribes, as well as nature beings and off-Earth allies, has been established. When Earth was in its design phase to become the spiritual university of our galaxy, the divine plan invited beings from other planets of the cosmos to contribute to the Earth. They brought plants, trees, animals, minerals, knowledge, and skills. These nature stations have provided them with the opportunity for us to communicate with them again. These nature stations are located all over the world in various places. Some are positioned on land, others in water, meaning oceans, rivers, and lakes. And that kind of reminds me of what Dawn was speaking about with ecotones, particularly with Merrymount, as it's such a diverse merging of areas. Others are inside volcanoes, even in the air above a building structure. It's important to understand when your third eye is wide open, you can see a pyramid-shaped energy connection above the location. The land stations are connected to the cosmic communication system and protected by a green energy pyramid. The water stations are blue, and the fire ones are orange to red. The air ones are only detectable by the motion of flickering air. Where I have been appointed guardian of a nature station is easily accessible. Please understand, we're trying to convey that it is important now for humanity, for each of us to feel and see our dear brothers and sisters of nature. And I want to convey how much I enjoy and love interacting with them. So, what does a guardian do? Well, I certainly was wondering that when we were first appointed, as I said earlier. But now I understand so much more. A guardian of a nature station provides the energy of understanding and trust within the nature beings at the nature station. We feel and connect with them and act upon their guidance. when the portal at the station that we're guardians of needed to be moved, we asked the head guardian where it should be moved and where it should be located. And we listened and we acted and we moved it in the appropriate place. But also, Martina, did you want to say something?
No, just please continue.
We also help other humans understand how they can communicate with these nature beings. And that's why we hold classes there, to help other humans communicate with these nature beings.
And if I'd come to the practical sessions that you both hold at Merrymount, can you give me an example or two? What would I learn?
Thank you, Martina. Well, one of the things that is fun to teach is communicating with the tree people, the Aldebaran. That has been kind of an icebreaker, can we say? A beginning exercise that provides people the time and the space to relax and literally get the feel of both Merrymount, the nature station, but in particular, the energies of the tree people, the Aldebaran, which is where they're from. And that has served a great way to open. Another one is by being in touch with the water spirits and the water beings, the Mer People. And that, for people that can do that, it is a real change for them to be able to communicate with beings from a very different environment than we're used to, unless you're a scuba diver, of course. And I think that puts you in a position as a student to be more open to what's coming through the cosmic communication system for other beings. You're able to sense things after you've been encouraged to open up. And that's mostly what it is. We're encouraging you to feel deeply what your soul wants to experience. So I hope that was fairly clear.
Yeah, maybe I'll add to that for those of our audience who don't know. Mer people are humans too, but they are far more advanced than we land dwellers are. So we have all the reason to connect with them and to learn from them. Deborah, what's it like for you to be in Merrymount? What are you doing when you're around?
Well, I really enjoy just being alone there and walking around the woods and connecting with the trees. But also, as you walk around Merrymount, you're connecting with the Mer people in the marshes. And this is such a merging of areas. And the station there it's a park. And there are galactic beings because it's a galactic nature station, one of the 9 galactic nature stations. So we walk around and we view the beautiful marshes and a particular area where there's this tree that reminds you of, we thought an elephant, but someone felt as though it looked like a dragon. It's got a head on either side. It's very interesting. So we often visit that area. But I wanted to point out that because of this merging area with the ocean just beyond it, we heard from one of the Mer people there, the Mer Queen, actually, of Merrymount. Her name is Zula. And she had let us know that they use Merrymount Nature Station in the marshes as a refuge to come away and get out of the outside ocean area. That area had been used for many years by the military, and it affects them in a negative way. So they really come in to get away from that, and so many at a time will come in. So you're able to communicate with them there. It's just really interesting. So what will what's your
Deborah's not cutting you off. So
Oh, it's
they
okay.
also have our rock people and our plant people and the portals also. So it's a complete experience with all the physical elements around that Merrymount area.
Yes, Charles, and
Chant,
you well know.
yeah, let us, Charles, please share with us what's your favorite part of being out and about in Merrymount?
Well, connecting with the Mer people is number one, but then we had a rock invite us last time we were out there and communicate with us and tell us this name, and it was really a fun time for the students. It's really each individual connecting with the energy within themselves and connecting with the nature station, and also being at the intergalactic portal is always a moving part of our experience when we go to Merrymount.
That
So, Martina, over to you to wrap it up for us.
All right. I hope everybody listening, watching, you got a good impression of what we are talking about, what the practical aspects are of really interacting with the cosmos and all the beings. And if you really like to dig in, first of all, there is the next practical teaching session with Don and Deborah and also Charles coming up on the 26th and 27th of April 2025. We include a link in the show notes to the website where you can register. So follow your instinct, trust, and get going. Secondly, already mentioned, our dear colleague Deborah has just completed her book today, which Charles and I had the pleasure of reading up front, of course. That's why I can brag about it. The title is Becoming a Guardian Teacher of the Cosmic Communication System of Earth, an Unexpected Spiritual Journey. Can highly recommend that. Lots of photos, lots of background, also showing other places in the world where you can easily access a nature station yourself. And then, of course, our dear Don is in the process of finishing a book as well about what you can learn from interacting with nature and how you do it. So, lots of things coming up. Big, big thank you to both Deborah and Don for being our guests today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Deborah and
Loved
Don,
it.
thanks for being here.
So,
Bye,
Charles and
everyone.
Martina say goodbye. See you next week when we dive into who really is the Sanat Kumara. And then the week after, we look at how to interact with a being of such caliber. See you, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you. Bye
everyone.
bye.